What's up, everyone? Welcome back to StrangeCast, Player One vs. the World's Life is Strange podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adnan. My co-host Adam is here. Adam here.
I am present. Here I am.
Indeed, you're present. And so this is our very special episode that we have with Anastasia Davidson. There are timestamps to jump to the segment if you just want to watch the interview with her, but you should stick around because we've got a couple of news pieces to discuss beforehand. Usually we don't kind of just do the full flowing interview, and that's about an hour and a half in itself. But I thought we would kind of get a couple of news pieces in because they came in big, hot and heavy, and a lot to talk about, obviously. But if you are new here as well, there's a lot to be said here. If you are new here, in the meantime, do please drop a subscribe, like, share, turn on notifications, and comment. It does keep you up to date with our content. And also, StrangeCast is available on podcast services. The video version is available on Spotify. We're available on Apple Podcasts. We're available on Audible. We're available on Amazon. Every podcast service, we are out there, and slowly climbing to 1,000 as well, which is a big milestone for us.
Yes.
And hopefully we get that soon. But we'll quick straight into the news, and a big one, which happened just, I think, had we recorded Anastasia? We had recorded Anastasia. It broken before that, but very interesting nonetheless. So I'm going to Eurogamer, and it's Life is Strange's delayed Switch Remastered Collection finally arrives in September. So
Switch
Matt Wales, after a lengthy delay, Square Enix's two-game Life is Strange Remastered bundle finally has a release date on Switch and will be launching on the 27th of September. Square's new Switch bundle, which goes by the name Life is Strange Arcadia Bay Collection, rather than the Remastered Collection moniker used on other platforms, includes remastered versions of developer Don't Nod's much-loved original Life is Strange and its Deck 9 developed prequel Life is Strange Before Storm. That is actually the first time I think I've seen Eurogamer use Don't Nod as two separate words, so congratulations, Eurogamer. You actually figured out, to check up.
Took a European to get it right.
Well, they spelled it wrong multiple times before that, but we eventually get there.
True.
Anyway, this new collection, which was originally due for launch on 1st of February alongside other platforms, before receiving a last-minute delay, retains the same acclaimed narrative core as the originals, following the supernaturally imbued adventures of teenage friends Max and Chloe, but promises a range of enhancements on Switch. These include, quote-unquote, improved and optimized, end-quote, visuals for characters and environments across both included titles, with the first game will also feature new motion captured facial performances, as we know, and you'll hear about more on this episode with Anastasia. Stay tuned. Life is Strange Arcadia Bay Collection will be available both digitally and physically when it will be released on the 27th of September, and it's priced at £34.99 on the Square Enix store. So what we're saying, like $45, $50. We're converting around about that price range. Yeah. So big news there. We finally have a release date for the Switch version of Life is Strange. Almost very much long period we thought that this was going to get completely canned or delayed or whatever else. But the main talking point, obviously, is the name rebrand. I am actually a little bit shocked by this as well, because when I saw the tweet that they announced it with, I thought it was like, I had like a little chuckle and I was like, hang on a minute. I will say, if you probably go back, you probably super caught it through all Life is StrangeCast episodes. I must have said the words Arcadia Bay Collection more than 4 or 5 times at least. I multiply said it.
At least 5.
Every time I said how you'd package this and sell it as an Arcadia Bay Collection on the 10th anniversary, it's that. And then they changed the name. I'm like, and then I sent it to you, and you're like, oh? Wait,
it took me like 10 seconds. Like you're just like, oh, Arcadia Bay Collection. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I was like laughing for the meme of it, but then I'm like, oh wait, hang on a second. Like, wait. It just got me all confused because, as you said, like this is me like talking as your co-host, the one who's been on these shows for most of the shows, not all of them, but like I've been here, I've been listening to you. You bring it up more than you bring it up Metal Gear Solid. Like you constantly say Arcadia Bay Collection, Arcadia Bay, and again, this is me talking for Adnan at this point, but it's just weird how they just for the Switch edition. For the Switch edition, it's Arcadia Bay Collection when all Adnan has been saying is Arcadia Bay. Now, will I say that it's a coincidence? Sure, you could say that. However, we've gotten to the attention of the original developers. Deck 9 has retweeted past episodes. Deck Nine has also hearted some episodes. I'm pretty sure Square Enix knows who Adnan is at this point, so you could call it a coincidence. You could, however, why after StrangeCast comes out, like they call it the remaster, and then StrangeCast, we're all like, Adnan has been saying Arcadia Bay Collection, and Square Enix, Deck Nine, who knows who he is, they know what the show is. All of a sudden, Arcadia Bay Collection. All I'm saying is that Adnan deserves some royalty fees here, so or some recognition, at least some recognition on the Arcadia Bay Collection.
Yes, my email is in the description if you want to send it to me for royalties. No, like, like
yeah,
I'm
like, honestly,
I'm not. No, you make it. You're right. I just find it.
I'm getting you in trouble, Adnan. That's my job here.
You completely get me in trouble for this. I just find it mind blowing by it. There's some. I should have come onto this podcast with a tinfoil hat. I'm not someone saying, "Oh yeah, I'm the greatest for like predicting the name or kind of giving them the idea of the name, whatever else." But it's just a coincidence.
Math adds up.
Yeah, it like you're spot on. You're like, the math does add up, and it's like, I just can't believe it when I see it. Like, the only justification I can see that they did this was because the remastered collections were included with the Ultimate Edition of Life is Strange. So they were just kind of like, here's remastered collections with the Ultimate Edition, you can do this. And obviously since then, I think with them releasing it, they probably maybe had a U-turn on the marketing, or change something, maybe not U-turn, but change the kind of marketing approach of it and be like, hey, you know what, might as well just call it the Arcadia Bay Collection, run off the name of it. But I just find it so, as you said, is it a coincidence? I find it so strange that it's called the Arcadia. I'm absolutely positive.
Like,
you can go back to the
thing.
StrangeCast episodes and supercut it, and you'll see how many times I actually say it. I didn't just say it once, and I can sit here being like, oh yeah,
you said it multiple times.
Yeah.
Like, no, and that's the thing. Like, why call it the Arcade? Why couldn't you call it Life is Strange, like plus sign Life is Strange Before the Storm? Why can you call it the Life is Strange Remaster? There's multiple ways you could go about this on the Switch edition, and people would have just like, it would have made sense. Why specifically Arcadia Bay Collection? You know what I mean? All we're saying is that just an email sent to Adnan saying like, yeah, we took your idea. Like, you caught us. You know, like just admit it. You know, like, I don't know. It
could have been called anything else. It could have been called the Arcadia Bay Edition. It could have been called this, that. It's exactly the words that I said. I'm just like, and I said like, maybe I'm just got like a good guess. Maybe they've had this in the pipeline for months with the plan of kind of calling it something else. I would not believe that, because the Switch version was meant to come out earlier than this, but was delayed and etc. So I think in the spare time, they've kind of like re-angled and changed the marketing of it. But I just refuse to believe that this is a coincidence.
No, I don't believe it is. Again, with Deck Nine retweeting the show, with the original creators watching the show, with Square Enix knowing who you are, Adnan, they know who you are. I don't know, man. Like,
probably for better or worse, if anything. That's just like,
and that's the thing. It's like, for better or worse, they know who you are because you've reached out to these guests, and I won't say any more details, but like, Square Enix knows who you are, basically. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, if we were just like some small up and coming, and it's just like, oh my god, like it took our idea, like funny little meme. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it is. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think someone watched your show from the marketing team, and then they're like, "Oh, that's a good idea. Arcadia Bay Collection." Just give Adnan his not his royalties. Just admit to Adnan, like, yeah, we watched the show. We thought it was a good idea. Thanks for that. Cheers.
Let's not get any legal battles right now. So I'm going to preface with that they.
I'm from Philadelphia. I'm good at legal battles. That's all I'm good for.
I was just like, that's the main thing that caught me out. Obviously, we've got a release date of September 27th. That's almost a year since True Colors launched, if not over. You know, we had True Colors come out in September. The Switch version now launches for the remastered collections in September. It's decently priced. I still think it's a buggy mess. I wonder how much the Switch versions are different compared to the actual standard releases that we got on the other consoles, which have been like plagued with a lot of other technical issues and bugs. So I'm curious to see how the Switch version handles up. But as I said, like, the main thing that caught me was the name, and I was like,
yeah,
I was like, that's a very interesting choice to name.
Very interesting. But yeah, I am excited for the Switch edition. I know Liz, my wife, she's very excited for the Switch edition. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm going to get it on Switch when it comes out, and I'll report back to you. I'm definitely going to play it because, again, to say it on the show, and also, Liz wants to play it on Switch anyway. So,
yeah,
I want to see what it's like. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. You can provide the feedback. And speaking of Deck 9 before, we're going to give a little bit of a shout out here. One quick thing was that Deck 9 tweeted on the Friday the 19th of August that with the 1-year anniversary of Life is Strange True Colors coming up, we'd like to celebrate by hosting a cosplay contest. Prizes for first, second, and third places, honorable mentions. Head on over to entry form via their Twitter page. So if you do go to their Twitter page, you can enter a cosplay for Life is Strange True Colors. I feel like Anastasia and Erika should enter that as well with their cosplay that they did, and Hemi as well. Yes. I think Hemi could win first prize with his outfit. So, but anyway, I thought I'd give that a quick plug. And then obviously sticking with Deck 9 as well, one more interesting news, which came from both Deck 9 and Telltale. So Jeff Keighley, the Dorito Hope Overlord, has tweeted on... tweeted 2 days ago. We're recording on Saturday, 20th of August, but he tweeted, "Next Tuesday, get your first look at the gameplay of The Expanse, a Telltale series during Gamescom's opening night." And then Telltale tweet as well, "Oh yeah, but Baratana," I don't know what the hell that means. That's probably a reference to The Expanse, but you ready for this? Deck 9 Games can't wait to show gameplay for The Expanse, a Telltale series during Gamescom's opening night live. So, nice. There's some very exciting news there with The Expanse. I know a little bit about The Expanse, which, I hope people are excited for. You'll see some interesting things. My own little insider knowledge. But
oh, yeah.
I think that with this is very exciting because I'm not, I need to sit down and get into The Expanse. So I'm still kind of like, out of any franchise, out of any kind of all the kind of things that they've covered in the past, like Telltale, like The Wolf Among Us, The Walking Dead, even Telltale working like Life is Strange. The Expanse has always been a bit strange for me in the sense that I don't really understand its popularity. Maybe it's much bigger than I think it is. But I'm excited that this is opening Gamescom as well. It's a big platform space as well for Telltale to take and for Deck 9 as well. So we got quite a bit of an exciting opportunity and platform for them to kind of show this game off.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, there's not much to go off of here, but, finally we're getting something. So it seems like, I don't know, it could come sooner than we think. It could come out sooner. I don't know if we have a release date officially yet. It's just kind of, announced, I believe.
Yeah, so announced Game Wars last year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was not... My God, it was that long ago? Holy hell. Oh my God, time flies. But yeah, no, it might come sooner than we think. I'm thinking early 2023 if we're already getting gameplay footage. So probably March or April of 2023. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to see more.
Deck 9, with the collaboration with two developers as they have, I think they'll be quite far into development at this point. I think your release window is a very good shout as well. I think that's probably what they're going to be targeting as well. And it does seem like it's coming along. Obviously, we had the gift from Jeff Keighley of the person kind of on the ship.
Floating.
I can say that's a ship, yeah. Floating on a ship.
Yeah. Floating on a ship.
Yeah. Which it looks interesting. Like as I said, I want to sit down, actually. I think The Expanse is one of those things I want to sit down and get on my, kind of try and see if I can get into it. Because it's I don't know whether this game's... It's a game for me in terms of its Telltale. And it's a game for me that is the sense that it's Deck 9. But is it the game that I would play based on something that I really like? I'm not too sure about that. So, yeah, exciting things to see from there.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's more we'll see. I'm glad we're getting gameplay footage, but whenever we'll see. But I have high hopes for this.
Yeah, I do as well. I have I think they'll do really well with Deck 9, especially with some of the success they had with True Colors in terms of especially the motion capture side. And I'm pretty convinced that they probably are doing motion capture on this as well. So I think there's a lot to kind of a lot more to be seen from The Expanse. And it might even
Yes.
sway me as well. I might become a believer. Saying that, like, some of the other franchises that I played from Telltale, like The Wolf Among Us, I'd never read before that. Like any of the Tales, the Fables, I'd never read any of those before it. What was the other one now? Borderlands, I kind of liked as well a little bit beforehand, but I really liked after Tales from the Borderlands. But then other ones, obviously, I'd already known history with Batman, Game of Thrones, even those are not the best, but, The Walking Dead, knew it, was familiar with it. But I think, like, sometimes I can kind of get sold on a franchise having never played it. But
now I wonder if they're going to be going more off the show or the books.
That's the interesting one, because I remember someone saying to me that there's books, there's
that was me. I told you that.
Was it you?
I was the one who told you.
It's got to be you. That'll say like has to be number one. I don't talk to anyone. I'll say it was you that's telling me. You remember? Did you attempt to watch The Expanse? If I remember correctly.
I did, and then I canceled my Amazon Prime because screw Amazon. So I canceled my Amazon Prime account, so I didn't get to watch it. I read in the past like one of the books. I can't remember. There's like I feel like there's 10, maybe 11 books, and they're pretty expansive.
Hey.
But they're pretty large books, is what I'm saying. So like, it's not something you can just like pick up and go through in like an afternoon. There's a lot of them, but I'm imagining this one will be based off of the first one, which is called Leviathan or Leviathan. Oh, I can't remember what the first book is called. But yeah, no, it's book series. But
like, obviously, I haven't read any of the books, not even seen any of the TV show. What's it like though? Like, saying speaking to me is like someone who's never like, I only know it by name. What's the kind of vibe that you got from what you read and / watched very early on?
There's a lot of like, it's very much a sci-fi, a lot like Marrow. People probably don't know what Marrow is. It's very much your like, not really a sci-fi fantasy. It's kind of like so think of like a darker Star Wars, I guess you could say. Like, if you compare, like, if I'm gonna like, I'm trying to compare this into things that people would know about, right? Think Star Wars in the terms of like fantasy, right? And the seriousness of Star Trek, but throw those out the window and make it much darker, and much more serious and a lot more war base, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it definitely does have that sci-fi fantasy kind of feel to it. So, and again, it's been a little bit, and I've only read like 2 of the books, maybe 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. They were good. I just saw how many I had left. I was like, I don't know if I want to commit to this. Same thing with Dune. Like, I read the first novel of Dune.
Like you said, I find it very interesting to say that, but like for me, I just find it strange that I've never heard of it before until now. Mm-hmm. When they announced it, I was like, what the hell is The Expanse? And I was like, what is this? It's like, why have I never even heard it by name? And it's apparently it's popular. So it's like, I'm not, obviously I might be living under a rock, but
it was on the Sci-Fi Channel. That's why.
Right.
So it's like, do you watch much Sci-Fi Channel?
No.
Yeah, it's popular in the way of Westworld. Westworld's popular.
Oh,
like, do you watch a lot of Westworld? You know what I mean? Yeah. Leviathan Wakes was the first book. Leviathan Wakes. That's right. Yeah, there's a good amount of these books. They're good. I'm not saying they're bad. It's just I just didn't want to commit to it.
I imagine I will probably try and tackle as much as possible leading up to the release of this, because I do think I will follow it. And obviously, like we said, it comes out on the Tuesday, the gameplay footage. So me and Adam were thinking about potentially doing a reaction video afterwards, depending on time schedules and whatever else. So if you guys are interested, let us know, or we might just leave it for the next StrangeCast episode. But yeah, I think we can leave that there, because obviously we're slowly climbing up to the exciting point when Anastasia jumps into this podcast very shortly, because we've got one more piece of news. I feel like I wanted to just throw this in as well quickly, which was that on the Friday, Life is Strange Twitter account tweeted a new patch for Life is Strange Before Storm Remastered is now available for Xbox, including fixes to character color, Jesus Christ, degradation, including resolution on various 2D textures and fixes to character animations. The patch will be available for PlayStation within the coming weeks. So I wanted to just put that out there as well as a quick update from Life is Strange Twitter account that we are getting the patches soon on PlayStation, and they are now available on Xbox. So they probably should have just tagged Adam in there instead of tagging Xbox, because he's the only guy who plays it on Xbox.
Damn.
But yeah, some progress at least. You know, I've bashed on the remastered collection quite enough as it is. I like it. I still like it to an extent. You know, I really like the facial capture, and you'll find it really interesting with the conversation with Anastasia. That sounds like, obviously we don't have it here, but like when we were listening to it, I thought that was probably, Jesus, I was like, that must have been such a difficult gig when she was explaining it to me. And then when she was doing the audition for it, I was like, what? You must have just gone in there with like the kind of mindset, like, this is just insane trying to do this, what you're doing right now.
Yeah, no, like there was, I'm glad we had the conversation with Anastasia, because now I respect the remastered collection so much more now, because it sounds like there was just so much like ground up work that was put into this. And Anastasia had a great attitude about it, but I was like, oh my God, I could not. But that's why I'm not an actor, you know, I'm not a thespian. So I don't deal with that nonsense.
Yeah, it was really interesting, and we're going to jump to that now as well, because I don't really want to talk about the remaster. We talked about it in the last episode, and this was just kind of an update for that. But as I said, I hope you find this very exciting. It could have probably been about a 4-hour long podcast, because, like, you know, we almost went down the Rachel Amber route, which obviously you'll learn more about as well. Which I was like, when I got the thing from her, the response, I was like, here we go. I threw my entire like structure out. I was like, we're going to talk Rachel Amber now. Forget about Life is Strange. We're just talking about Rachel Amber. Me and you were talking about Rachel Amber now. Adam can go as well. Shoot. But no, it's a really interesting chat. I hope you enjoy it. And a big shout out to Anastasia for coming on. I really appreciate her coming on with, you know, the amount of time that she gave us as well. And also a shout out that she got Erika Mori to follow me on Twitter. Anastasia delivers as well, which was great. Well, but yeah, without further ado, we'll jump into the next segment, and we welcome on none other than Anastasia Davidson. I hope you enjoy. Okay, guys, we are now jumping to this segment, which obviously, if you've seen our social media feeds, seeing the thumbnail of this episode, seeing the name of this episode, we are absolutely thrilled to welcome on none other than Anastasia Davidson on StrangeCast, none other than the voice of Diane Jacobs herself, motion capture as well, and also in Life is Strange Remastered Collection as well. Anastasia, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have you here. It's been a while since our Life After Strange episode. And we've got a couple of structures here for this episode, so we'll be covering a load of episodes. But at this point, I'm going to ambush you with a topic, which I didn't tell you about as well. So this is 8 months ago, many more months ago, you were the first person from True Colors to come on Life After Strange. We chit-chatted on there. You told me about how good you were cooking cookies and stuff, you know, expert in that. And in itself, like, two things really scare me in life, which is, one, if I get stranded in a jungle and a lion comes at me, or if I cross paths with a hungry Erika Mori. So, you know, and Erika Mori is always like, she's like, Stacey's my best friend and all this. And I'm like, how can someone be your best friend if she ain't making yours unbelievable cookies? So we need to do this as a Justice for Erika Mori segment. Hashtag, Stace, why has Erika not been fed any confectionery goods from you yet?
This is okay. So I have a reason for it.
Okay.
I get very stressed out sharing things that people know about me. Like, so everyone hears about my baking, and I post pictures of my baking. Mm-hmm. And I have this concern that I'm going to share it with her and she's going to think it's disgusting.
Yeah, no.
And so,
talking about.
Right, Adam? So I just kind of feel like it's better off if she just sees gorgeous pictures of all of it and I never actually give her anything.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now. I will say, Erika was just over here on Monday, a couple days ago, and I did put out a very nice cheese spread. Like, I had some cheeses and crackers and hummus
like
and
a
carrots.
charcuterie board.
Like a little charcuterie board without the meats. I don't think I included any meat on Monday. Wow. But she seemed to enjoy it. So I'm keeping her fed. It's just not with my baked goods. Also, selfishly, when I bake something, I eat it all. So I can't wait until I have her over. It's gone.
Why can't you bake with her? You know, kind of like a Christmas cookie situation, you know?
I thought about this. I did think about doing that on Monday. I thought, oh gosh, I could bake my chocolate chip cookies and she can sit at the counter and I could kind of pretend it's like a little cooking show, and I thought she would love it. But then we got so distracted having our cheese and crackers and chatting that it didn't end up happening. But next time I would really like to do that, because then she can see how I'm doing it and maybe judge me a little bit less if she doesn't like it.
Oh my God.
So are we saying
No,
that Erika Mori's high expectations on the cookies is what's not making her get cookies?
No, I understand where she's coming.
Thank you for distilling it. That's exactly it.
It's also a chef's conundrum because, like, you know, as somebody who works in the kitchen world and has been cooking since 12 years old, like, no matter how much experience I have, no matter how confident I am, serving it to like literally anybody, I'm just like sweating. I'm just like, oh my God, like, what if it's undercooked? What if I didn't do this right? What if I didn't follow my recipe to the right standards? And then they just get this one bite and like, Adam's not a great cook. Or like they'll say like, Stacey's not a baker. It's like, what no, that was like one time. I'm sorry. It's like,
yeah,
it's stressful. It is.
When there are expectations, I truly believe expectations are the enemy of happiness. My husband coined this, and I think it's true.
Yeah.
Yes, you could.
Yeah.
You can't go in expecting anything. You got to just kind of, and you can't set the bar low and you can't set the bar high. It just kind of has to let it be.
Yeah. Great album, by the way.
Okay. True. Right. So we'll get rid of the ambushing segment then. So I did need to address that for Erika because she was on here and she said like she was a bit like, you know, a bit tetchy about it, but we've dealt with that. And Erika Mori will come back
on my own here.
And Erika Mori will come back into the conversation later on. Don't worry about that. But I kind of want to start off with we're in August now, Anastasia. It's almost 1 year since True Colors come out. I kind of wanted to reflect on that. Let's start off with like, how does it feel almost 1 year on now? 1 year since True Colors, or almost 1 year since True Colors released.
First of all, it makes me upset because time is moving too fast.
I know.
I can't believe we're coming up on the year mark. It seems like a couple months ago that I was freaking out at my door when my copy was delivered.
Right.
So that's crazy. But so much, like when you think about it, so much has happened in between the release. I mean, everyone has played it and the fans have gone crazy and they have been wonderful and amazing. Erika and Han were nominated for freaking BAFTAs and so many other game awards for this beautiful game. So that's happened. The Life is Strange remaster has come out since then. So part of me, it feels like yesterday, and the other part of me, it seems like forever ago, and that it's always just been. But it's been a wild ride. It's been great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it really Go on.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut it off. Like,
no, it always happens. God.
No, I was thinking about that too. Like, just seeing this question, like almost 1 year on, and it's just like, even thinking about that, it's like 1 year since True Colors came out, and it's like, you're right. Like, just a lot of things have just happened because of this game, and it makes you really thinking about that. Like, wow, 1 year, just anything can happen. No, that's all I was gonna say. Also, This happened 1 month after I moved to North Dakota. So then I'm thinking like, oh man, it's been 1 year since North Dakota. Oh my God. Like True Colors, 1 year. That's insane.
Wow. Do you remember where you were when you first played it? Like what was going on, what your day was like when you first played it?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, because again, it was 1 month after I moved. So it was a completely different zone. Like I don't know anybody out here. I don't have any family, no friends. So I'm just like coming out here fresh, just me and my wife. That's it, me and my wife. And I'm just like, oh my God, like it's just kind of like a freak out moment. Like, what did I do? Why did I do this? Like no reason. I have a job. Again, working in the food industry, you can get a job tomorrow. It's fine. But like, yeah, no, I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I remember Life is Strange 2 Colors was like my familiarity. Like this is where I was. And of course, like it was in Colorado. So like I'm sort of above Colorado, sort of, not really.
Sure, yeah,
you're mountains. There's no mountains in North Dakota, but you know, it is what it is. But I don't know. It was just like that time and state of like, okay, this is comfortable. You know, I'm playing Life is Strange, playing a nice game. The actress who played you know, like the actress. Oh my God, I can't remember your character's name. I'm blanking. No, this is embarrassing.
Leave the chat. Get out.
I'm not offended at all. No. There are days I can't remember her name.
I'm sorry. I just got off of a 9-hour shift, so I'm like
Diane.
Totally
Diane.
I was going to say
Diane Jacobs.
I was going to say Dana.
Close.
Yeah,
she's got a D.
But you know, some great actress in Diane Jacobs. You know, but. No, True Colors did a lot for me. Like honestly, in that time, I was like, okay, this is good. And now we're a year later. I still love True Colors. I still like it out here. I think North Dakota, it's fine. But no, it's crazy. No, you're right. 1 year, just things can just like snowball into greatness.
Yeah, it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
That's really sweet, though, that a game like Life is Strange, and I'm sure this is not just the case for you, Adam, but a lot of people, is that source of comfort. You know, we've all got that thing, whether it's a game or a book or a favorite movie, that like when you go someplace unfamiliar, you can still anchor to some unfamiliar. You can anchor to something familiar, and it's really nice.
Yeah, I think a lot of people put way too much pressure on video games. Like, you need to play Elden Ring or else you're not really a gamer. You need to play Stray because you're not really. It's just more of a, like, how does a game make you feel? Like, how do you adjust to it? Like, is Elden Ring your game of the year? Great. Mine is Ollie Ollie World, but I'm in the minority. But no, I think a lot of people just put too much pressure on, like what you're saying, expectations and trying to be a real gamer when it should be about, like, how did that game impact you in your life? But no, you're totally right. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember where you were, Adnan?
Yeah. Me. Oh, what a day. It must have been, it would have been raining because I live in the UK, so I'm pretty sure about that. But I was at home. I downloaded True Colors and I was like, oh, here we go. And I was so excited for it because at that point I was like, what can actually happen here? And there was like so much built up with it as well. I'd spoken to Webb only a couple of months before it. He'd shared his thoughts on it. Obviously very excited for Katie's return on it, having spoken to Katie many years ago, having been there with her in the BTS days. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I've always said, like, I'm a bit critical of True Colors at times, but I've always said one of the standout moments for me is the acting, the motion capture. That is just like by far a stellar part of that. And to kind of like fix this into a conversation and a question for you, which is, you mentioned it there about the BAFTAs. We saw Erika Mori, Han Soto nominated. You're obviously thrilled for them. But in itself, like, I always thought that Katie could have got nominated. I could have thought you could have been nominated. I read reviews where they said that the actor behind Diane Jacobs was a standout character. They were on the internet. They thought you did a really stellar job. Yeah, they thought you did a stellar job. I thought you did a stellar job. Diane is one of my favorite characters. Low-key comes in, plays an outstanding role there. But when you see, like, you see the nominations for like best supporting, and you're too humble to say like, ooh, it would have been great to be nominated. But like the sense that if it was you and Katie, for example, not getting in the best supporting role, did you feel like maybe one of you could have potentially have squeezed your way in there? Because Life is Strange has had two actors nominated in best supporting before, and obviously Katie got to go to the BAFTAs. But did you feel like there could have been room for another Life is Strange actor to sneak into that category?
I think I'm sure it's a very hard decision to make, especially when you're already pulling two actors into the category with Han and Erika, who I was, like you said, so excited for them. They completely deserved it, 100%. I, not for 1 second, it wasn't even on my radar that, just because Diane is such a more low-key character, she's not in a ton of the game. And so there are so many other actors that deserve to be nominated who played larger parts. Maybe if there was like a category that was like very small bit part, did a great job, BAFTA nomination, sure. But I was very surprised that Katie wasn't nominated personally. I think that she just did such a beautiful job with the character, and the fact that it came over from Before the Storm, and listening to her voice acting. I've just learned so much from playing the game after the fact and hearing her, and then thinking back about my time in the room working with her and seeing her work, and then getting to experience her finished product, that I have such a respect for her, and I would have loved to see her nominated. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, so would I. So have I. And I imagine Katie will be appearing on these channels at some point in the future, just as a teaser for things to come. But she will be on here. I kind of wanted to ask you something else in terms of, because I'm trying to stay away from the stuff that we talked about in our Life After Strange interview, because there's so much to talk about and people can check that. But I was quite interested because with Erika, I wanted to ask her, did you ever consider doing method acting for Alex Chen? I think she was kind of taken aback by the fact that I had asked her that question, just because of the sophistication she puts into Alex Chen, like because of how she acts and stuff. But I wanted to ask you, because you played Diane for quite a while, did you notice that anything might have like bled over from Diane? Because obviously I went back and watched a lot of the cutscenes with Diane, the posture, the way that she acts, the way that she conducts herself. Did you ever notice, like, was there any moment in your life when after you left the set, came home and something, you were doing something, what's the word now? Unintentionally doing something that was quite Diane, that just basically had bled over from the set?
I think I can honestly say that that never happened. And I'm glad for that, actually. I think as an actor, you do have to set certain boundaries. At least I do personally. You have to set certain boundaries between your work and your personal life. And of course, what you're doing is going to bleed into your personal life as far as what you're learning at work and what I was picking up as far as all the new stuff that was being thrown at me, being a first time working with voiceover and motion capture. And so that was all coming into my life and definitely just finding its way into the way I was living and the way I was thinking about different projects and the way I was approaching different roles, as far as like, oh, I can really use my voice a lot more and a lot differently for these different roles, because that's something that I'm hearing picked up, and I do all this stuff in the studio, and it's just so nuanced that you can get really specific with that. So that definitely bled into my life, but the character specifically, no. I personally don't love the method of method acting. I know it works for a lot of people, and if it works for you, great, you do you. I personally think if you've got to go home and like literally become this character and have everyone call you by this character's name and address you in certain ways, and you've immersed yourself in them, is it really acting, or have you just kind of gone into this realm of like, I am this person now? So yeah, that never happened, and that's the short answer. And
that would be reassuring to some as well. And I thought I'd just ask it because, like, in itself, like, you know, that you were the first person to come on from True Colors on Life After Strange. You gave me a taste of Meisner. Then I realized how divisive Meisner was, and especially with Erika Mori. Oh my god! Like, we always use words.
Don't get me started.
Go on. I'm going to give you. Go on. Has this been a conversation with you and Erika between the?
It comes up all the time, and I don't know why. I honestly think that she must kind of like it for how often it comes up in our conversations.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that she is not a fan. I will say I am a fan, you know this.
Yeah.
But it's partially because it's how I was trained. You know, I did a summer intensive working with Meisner technique at the Atlantic Acting School in New York City. For 3 years of graduate school, I worked with his favorite technique, which is repetition. And so when you get to know something that well, and when it becomes a very fundamental part of what you do in your own job and in your own craft, either you're going to come out of it loving it or hating it. I think a lot of people who went through my grad program were just so done with it by the end, but I'm one of those people that I still love it to this day. I think it just works for me. So
yeah,
I like it. But
is Meisner, by the way? I'm not too familiar with that.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So Sanford Meisner was an acting teacher, and his main approach to acting and what acting is that you are living truthfully under imaginary circumstances.
Okay.
And the imaginary part is very important, because you think about method, and like for some people, maybe it's not so imaginary anymore. But it's truly like living truthfully moment to moment in imaginary circumstances, and putting yourself into the world of this game in Haven Springs, or putting yourself into the world of your play that you're in, and just living truthfully in that world. And he then came up with an exercise that he calls repetition. where it can start off very simply, where you're with a partner, you're with your partner, and you notice something about them. And you say, you have glasses. So I'm actually, you both do. So I'm looking at Adnan, but also Adam, you have glasses.
Sure.
And your partner just repeats that back to you and says, I have glasses. And you repeat it back to them. You have glasses. I have glasses. And it starts off with something very superficial like this. And you can just, there's no pressure to change anything, to do anything else. You just repeat it back and forth until something catches you. And you start to say something else, like you're wearing a chain around your neck. You're wearing a chain. I'm wearing a chain around my neck. And you go back and forth. And step by step, and this takes a long time. So a lot of people are forced, unfortunately, to rush the process and want to get through it all within a certain time frame. But really, it can take weeks and weeks to build up to the fact that what you're really doing, you're not in the end looking to find superficial things about a person, like the clothing that they're wearing. That's not really what you're looking for. You're looking to find things about their personality or about the way they're moving and thinking, and start picking up on that. The whole purpose of it, Meisner's whole purpose when he came up with it, is to take the attention completely off of yourself and to put it on your partner. Because as actors, we oftentimes are so focused on ourselves, and like we've been trained to be, right? Like it all is like, oh, how does my hair look? What am I doing? How am I moving? Like, did I blink my eye weird? Like, how did that shot look? Can we replay it? I don't want to be looking like that or acting like that or moving like that. So we're so trained to be focused on ourselves. But really what is most interesting is when you are interested in the other person. And so the whole point is to take the focus off of yourself, get it out of your head, and really zero in on your partner and try to figure out what's going on with them and what they're doing and what they're thinking. And so eventually this repetition exercise will start to become, you're confused right now. I'm confused right now. You're confused right now. I'm confused right now. And you can start picking up nuanced things about them.
Okay.
And I will also say that the way that you're reacting, the way you react to it doesn't have to be like, oh, they said it, so it's true now. If you're not confused and someone said you're confused, you can repeat it back like, I'm confused right now. Like, that's what you're getting from me. And then based on that, your partner is going to be like, oh, I guess you weren't, you know? So, yeah, that's a very long-winded answer to your question, but that is the bulk of Stanford Meisner and his repetition exercise.
No,
and sometimes it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Erika.
That was very insightful, because as you well educated me in the first Life After Strange, and afterwards I went and looked it up, and it was really interesting, because then I kind of get the perception of why you would be able to, you can go with it, and then other people are just like, nah, this isn't my bread and butter. And to kind of move the conversation away from True Colors, after this is kind of to bang on the final point of this, because we've obviously got quite a few interesting other topics to talk about. But I kind of wanted to ask you to kind of go into the deeper mind of an actor, in the sense that you're very good at Meisner. Obviously, as I said, like, I've spoken to other actors. Some of them have been open to Meisner, some of them haven't. Erika, but so for example, if I'm on the True Colors set on mocap with you, you're carrying that scene for me, because I'm like, holy fuck, I don't know Meisner as well as she does. Like, she's really good. And obviously, not to name names, but like, what was it like engaging Meisner with other people on True Colors? Because, like, as I said, your experience with it seems like quite far ahead compared to someone else, and that's not insulting them, but it's like you have to basically get on the same wavelength in a short time, and then work under obviously the director's direction, which is Webb's idea to put Meisner in. It kind of gave me more of an insight for how Webb conducts things. But it's like, how was it like kind of eventually getting to that wavelength? But was it really quite seamless to act with it, or did it take a bit of time to get Meisner in full effect?
So I'm not sure. Erika worked on so much of the game and was there all the time with Webb. She may have done more Meisner and more of the repetition exercise with him than I did. My experience with it was primarily for auditions, actually. Okay. Webb liked to use it as a way to loosen up the actors in the room, and to just kind of get us into a mindset that this was going to be more of like the way Deck 9 did auditions for this game was so cool, because you don't just come, so many auditions, you come in, you're there for 2 minutes, you do your sides, and then you're out.
Yeah.
Whereas if you get a call back for web, it's almost like you're given the opportunity to have this hour-long workshop with him where you're working on the character, you're auditioning for things, but he also incorporates some other exercises in the audition itself. And so that was my experience doing Meisner with him. I don't know if I ever did it during a shoot day. Maybe I did it during a rehearsal. When I went in for just a quick rehearsal, but during the shoots, we weren't touching it because you got a lot to get done and you're given new pages sometimes that morning and you have a lot to shoot. And so it was just a trust. Webb just had a trust in that the actors he cast in the roles would come in prepared, whatever that was for them, whatever that looks like. And my process is totally different from Erika's, which we got to learn about each other a little bit more when we were in a play together last spring, which was amazing. But our processes are completely different, but also completely valid. And Webb just trusts that we were going to show up ready to work and whatever all of our homework would be done. So yeah, I don't think I did much repetition during our shoots.
Okay, that's very interesting, and we'll keep on the topic of Life is Strange because we're going to move forward now because I get to speak to Stace now post Life is Strange Remastered Collection. We didn't know this one. Well, we knew Stace was working on something, but we didn't know Stace was working the Remastered Collection. And we'll come on some of the characters you play because I had a kind of theory that maybe you've been the facial capture for Rachel Amber, but you can confirm that later on. But to start with, I just wanted to know, how did you end up landing the gig for this, to do the facial capture in Remastered Collection?
Great question. So, trying to figure out timelines here because actually, yes, I was cast in the remaster before I was cast in True Colors. So all of my auditions for the remaster were prior. Well, they were kind of around the same time, and there's a lot of time in between the auditions and when the callbacks are and second callbacks and all of that. But I want to say, when was it at this point? Could have been 2019.
Yeah,
I think is right. When I was auditioning for and I didn't even know what it was, of course. Like, you don't know what these projects are. Yeah. It comes in through your agent. It's all very hush-hush, and I didn't realize that it was a remaster or anything. But I had an audition for it, and what they were really interested to see these actors do for the auditions was to see if we could do the face-over that you needed to be able to match your face and your mouth to the original actor who was doing the role. Because we kept the original actor, all of their mocap was kept, all of their voice acting was kept. We just needed to get our facial expressions down for the new technology. And so what they did for our audition, they had us look at various clips from like random stuff. Like, I think one was a Pixar movie, one was an old movie with Haley Joel Osment. Some of them were games that we had to watch. And we just they sent us the clips and they said, look at these clips and watch this character. And when you come in, be ready to do that character. Like, be ready to just do everything that they're doing, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Yeah.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, like, all right. So I watched these clips, and we only had, I think I had about 3 days to prepare for it. So not a ton of time, but enough time that, like, I watched these clips over and over again. And I found that it was easier if I could speak it out loud instead of just mouthing the words of, like, so it was easier if I could actually vocalize the words, and I practiced, and I went in for the audition, and it was going pretty well. Like, I was feeling okay about it, but it was like really nerve-wracking. And they said, okay, well, we're going to put the clips up on a television, and you can actually watch the clip as you're doing it if you need to, and we're just going to be filming you do it. And let's see how close it can get. So I'd be like, okay. So like I would watch it and I would do it at the same time. And I would be like, in my head, I'd be like, nailed it, spot on. And then they would play it back and be like, do you see how you're not really matching it?
Oh.
And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Like I'm a split second behind. Like I get that. Like I'm starting too far behind. And so then we would do it again and it would improve a little bit. And so it was really challenging, but really fun. And then we got to the end of the audition and I remember Sylvia Gregory, who was our performance director for the remaster, and she also was a casting director for it. She was there at the audition and they played a clip. I don't even know what it was from, but in it, the girl said something. I don't remember what she said. And as she said it, a tear fell from her left eye on like a certain word. And she was just in the scene doing it. And like she blinked and a tear fell. And I was watching it. And for some reason I was like, Sylvia, are you hoping to see a tear fall from my left eye on this word? And she was like, oh, no, don't worry about that. If you can do it, great. But like, no, that's okay. But if you can do it, great. And so I was like, okay, give me a second. And I don't know like what sort of part of the universe was on my side in that moment, but I got it. They said action. I started saying the lines and somehow on the exact word, I blinked and a tear fell out of my left eye only, not my right, just like she did. And in that moment, I was like, I think I may have booked it. So yeah, that was really cool.
Can I ask a question on this? And this is just you as a person who goes into a lot of auditions and meets a lot of directors. I just want to geek out for a second, and I want to ask you as someone in the acting world, you go into an audition, and sometimes you see some red flags, sometimes you see some green flags, right? When you walk into an audition, what are some signs you might see that like, maybe I don't want to work with this director, or what are some signs that you're like, I really want to work with this director? Yeah,
that's a really interesting question that I don't think I've received before. I think that when I'm in an initial audition for something, I don't know, maybe it's just as an actor, you're so trained to want whatever the gig it is that you're going in for, that like it's only green flags, like green flag after green flag, or maybe that's just me. I've definitely been in a room before where there's red flags as far as I know that I'm not what they're looking for. So it's more like a red flag on my end where I'm in the room. And of course it's something that I want because I've gotten to this point and I've prepared for it and I've become invested in it. And then I'll be doing the sides that they've given me. And one time I remember they were like, okay, great. Thanks for coming in. And they had asked me to prepare 2 sides. And at that point I had only done 1. And in that moment I was like, oh, if they said thanks for coming in after I just did the first one, I'm not really what they're looking for, but still more time in the room is more time in the room. So I was like, wait, you had me prepared 2. Would you like to see the second one? And of course they're not going to be rude. So they were like, oh, sure. Like you could do the second one. And so I did it, but leaving the room, I was like, I'm not what they're looking for. That's a flag that comes up right away as far as am I going to be cast? And there are certain things, where I'll feel some red flags, but it's more so I'm at the point in my career that if I see that, I usually won't audition for it. So I'll take myself out of the running for something like that before I am going to put in all the work to actually go in and be seen and prep and all that.
Okay. Yeah. No, I just have curiosity. Yeah.
No, that is really interesting.
Yeah, it's a great question.
It's a really great question, and I'm going to move this in a little bit of a different direction because, we've seen on Instagram, Stace posted a fact that she's working on the facial capture. I think one of the pictures in the background had Dana Ward maybe in there, but like, who did Stace play in the Remastered Collection? Because we saw the Rachel Amber cosplay, and we'll come on to that in a little bit. But I had a feeling that maybe that's connected to the fact that you might have been Rachel Amber's mocap actor. But remember which characters you went for?
So Yes, I eventually I ended up playing in Liz. My main character was Victoria Chase.
Okay.
And
Very
then
nice.
I also, yeah, she was so fun. I really wanted to get her too. So my main character was Victoria Chase. And then I also did, I think, are you right? Did I do Dana? I was going to say Juliet.
It might have been one of them. I just saw the picture in the background.
Okay.
It might be Juliet or it
And-
might be Dana.
Okay, because I will say, so they ended up casting a group of actors for the remaster that were very good at the faceover work, like matching yourself to like that major audition, and then there were callbacks after that, and we had some more challenging things that they had us do in the callbacks. But so they ended up just casting an ensemble, almost like a pool of actors that they knew were good at it, but they didn't give us our parts yet. So we knew on day one, when we had a big group meeting to talk about it and learn about the project and what we were there for, we knew that we were going to be capturing the facial expressions of these different avatars, but we didn't know which ones we were going to be. So then after we got in and we knew that we were going to be a part of it, then we had to audition again for which parts that we wanted to play. And we were allowed to, I think, go through and request, like, yes, you're looking at me for all the parts, but I'm really interested in XYZ. And so I think when I first looked at some of the gameplay and learned about Life is Strange, I wanted Victoria. So I went to Sylvia, our performance director, and I was like, I think she's really interesting. I think she's super fun. Like, please consider me for Victoria and whoever else. And so sometimes we'd end up, if we didn't get to the, if I couldn't cover all of my material for one day of shooting, if another actor was coming in the next day, they might do pickups for Victoria because I couldn't get through it all. And they just know that, like, I was the main Victoria, but also there was a backup Victoria that could also do it in case I couldn't come in. And we would discuss the way that she moved. We would discuss all sorts of things that then if I was coming in to do backup for another person, I would know their list of the way that they were kind of moving and creating the character so that we could be in sync with each other. And so all this to say, I don't know if I did all of Dana or all of Juliet, or if I did a backup Dana and most of Juliet, or a backup Juliet and most of Dana, if that makes sense. And then I also, I think I did Warren for like a hot second. I wasn't the main Warren, but I had to do some pickups for Warren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're crossing realms there. Of,
so that was
playing
Life
male
is
actor.
Strange.
Yeah.
I know
That
we
is-
did. Yeah, we did have a couple of those. And in Before the Storm, I did my main character was Rachel Amber. So I was doing a lot for Rachel. You were correct. Good detective work. Elementary. And then my other main one was Evan Harris. I did. And he's just a smaller role, which they gave me a big chunk with Rachel. And then I did some of Evan.
Nice.
Yeah. So
it was so fun.
Because I'll come on to Sylvia Gregory in a moment. I kind of want to move forward from that onto another point, which was, we were talking about Victoria, Queen Bee, the queen of the Vortex Club. Any person that's seen Mean Girls would love to play Victoria. She's like just like that moment you can play yourself. But obviously you're Rachel Amber as well in Before Storm. And the last Life After Strange interview, we had Danielle Vivatis on, who was Rachel Amber's mocap actor in BTS. And she didn't get the role for this, which was the one that really shocked me. Because like when I was prepping for that interview, looked up the credits, I was like, why are you not in here, Danielle? I was like, there's Rachel Amber in here. And I was like, that's where 2 and 2 came together for me. And I was like, Stace? I was like, Stace is doing it. But I thought there was something really quite nice that Danielle said in there. She said, like, you can never get attached to your characters. You don't know what's going to happen throughout the course of it. You might not get the voice at the end of it. But she was very open to the idea of the fact that Rachel Amber is now 3 actors. There are 3 people that bring Rachel Amber to life. And just because of the magnitude of Rachel Amber, my favorite character, for example, loads of people's favorite character. What is it like now having a piece of history in this legacy character that now Danielle Vivatis, Kylie Brown, and Anastasia Davidson are Rachel Amber?
Yeah.
I'm very proud. I think she was definitely a highlight of doing the remaster for me, just because it was a meaty, big role. Other times, Victoria Chase is a larger supporting role as well, but I really got to follow her through the game and follow her arc. And it was really a wonderful challenge to bring everything that I could bring as an actor as far as her emotional truth to the role, but also stay connected and grounded with the original character that these other fabulous women have created. And it was at times super challenging because I may have done it a completely different way, or my face doesn't really move like that. Like, we would have to make sure I have this eyebrow problem, and this eyebrow loves to go up, and I can't help it, and I don't know when it's happening. And with these other characters, their eyebrows do not go up. And like, so I would have to work really hard at kind of just like letting everything like go to zero in my face, and then bring whatever they have brought to it and try to give it a reality that still matched their voice capture from the original. So it was really cool. And I'm just super proud to have had the opportunity to join these women and to play Rachel Amber, because like you, I think she's great and I love her. And it was really fun doing the cosplay. And I didn't have to do much. Erika had to do more. Yeah. We spent more time on her wig and her whole thing. And I was like, well, I'll just throw in a flannel.
Right.
So in between this...
I was just going to say, I'm glad you didn't take the voice. You only took the mocap, but I'm glad Kylie Brown still got her role in the voice acting. So little nod.
In between this, because obviously, like you said, NDA'd, everything's all under wraps, but because you're playing these characters, did they inform you early into the production of the facial capture that you'll be playing these characters, and then you had time to kind of go back and watch cutscenes of it? Because obviously you have so much now content that you can like prepare for the role. Like I always think like any person steps into the role of Rachel Amber, for example, it's just like a monumental one because of like how complex that character is, just from, and especially with your trying to match her facial animations, which I feel like the audition you did was probably the most difficult of your career, because it's like just to kind of keep everything in line. Did they kind of give you that fact that like, oh, you're Rachel Amber, go away, here's some cutscenes you can look at YouTube, and then did you have time to kind of prep for it before you went in and did facial capture?
Yes, thank goodness. It was a lot of material and we had to get through it fast, but they gave us both of the games. So we had Life is Strange and Before the Storm, and they asked us what platform we wanted them on and just gave us the games and said, like, if you want to play them all the way through, fantastic. If you don't have time, you can find it and watch all the gameplay, which I did. I played Life is Strange all the way through. I played parts of Before the Storm, but because we were working so fast at that point, I ended up watching a lot of the gameplay for it. Mm-hmm. And then the way I would prep to go in would be, and we all did this, all of the people who were working on the remaster, we would be given the clips that we'd be working on that day. And lots of times, like, they would be relatively short. They would only last around like 10 to 15 seconds. Mm-hmm. each, but we'd have a lot of them. So like there would be like 30 to 50 clips that we'd have to go through and watch. And each of them would be anywhere between 4 seconds long to 15 seconds. And I would watch them over and over and over again. And so I would just have to hear the way she inflected. I would have to hear the breaths that she would take, because we had to add in every time they would take a breath, we would have to have a breath. And we didn't have a ton of time. We would get the clips, and lots of times we would have maybe 1 to 3 days to prep them and then go in for a day of shooting. So with the repetition was really helpful with that. And I would watch it over and over again. And the one thing that helped me, I don't know if it helped anyone else, I should chat with people about it, but they would give us beeps before main segments of dialogue. So it'd be like, boop, boop,
Yeah.
boop. And then it would be a breath, and then you'd start, and it would help us start on time. And if there was ever a pause in the middle of the line, we would get 3 more beeps. Or sometimes if it was a shorter break in the middle of a line where it was just like a breath, we would get 1 beep to start. And you'd have to know where the beeps were. And then there would be like Chloe would respond with her dialogue, and I'd get to hear it. And then there would be a boop, 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 and then you would start again. So the beeps were everything to me. They meant so much. They helped me immensely. And so finally, Alexis and Sylvia, who were with me in the room when I was shooting, they made me a little beep flag. And it was just a little Post-it with the word beep on it so that I could ask for more when I needed them. Because anytime there was a break, I was like, I need a beep. I need a beep in there. I'm not going to get the timing of the break right unless I have a beep. Like, I can only do it with a beep. And so finally they were like, Stace, just stop asking. Just raise the flag. Like, we gave you a little flag. And so I'd stand at my little station and just like every other second raise my beep flag.
It's your metronome. Like, no, it's completely, I know that. I'm awful at rhythm, so bad at rhythm. So whenever I played in garage bands, I'm like, and the drummer couldn't make it, I'm like, I can't play today. Can't do it. Nope. I need something. Anything.
No. Yeah. That's exactly what it was. And I'm not the best either. Like, I can keep a beep, but it just helped me. There was something about that beep where I needed it to move, to move forward.
Oh yeah.
They made that cute little flag for me. I think I have a picture. I should post it. I think I have a picture with me and my flag. It meant a lot to me. My beep flag.
So it's interesting you mentioned that, because that seems really fascinating about the process of this, because obviously Mr. Webb Pickersgill has moved out of the place for here because we have Sylvia Gregory doing the performance directing on it. How did you find working with Sylvia? Because obviously this is completely different. You have your little beep flag. It's completely like, it feels like such a on-demand kind of performance that you're doing. But what was it like working under her direction?
It was great. I really loved working with her. She has a great amount of trust, at least I felt, for her actors. And so lots of times we would come in and she would just say, like, do you feel prepared today? And I'd be like, yeah, I watched everything. I'm ready to go. Let's do it. And she'd be like, great, let's put a couple down and see how it goes. And then I'll give you some notes from there. And I'd be like, excellent. And we just had so much material to get through. And so I think she was really good at keeping everything moving, but also making sure we were being specific and true to the original actors and what they brought to the characters. And she also had a great way of communicating with me that I understood what she meant. And I'm trying to think of an example now of, like, she could help me move my face she would help me get me to move my face in a way that I needed to move it by just saying something like, maybe in this moment, you're actually feeling a little vulnerable. So, and that wasn't it, but like, it would be something as simple as that. And I'd be like, oh, got it. Okay. And then we'd do the take again, and like, it all locked in and my face was matching the words and everything was syncing up. And it was a really, really great experience. We were also in this tiny room because we didn't need to do whole body motion capture. It just was our face. So we didn't need a lot of space. So we were essentially in this like large closet. It was bigger than that, but it was a small room that had room for like one tiny little love seat and a little mini fridge, and then all of their computers and our big screen where we would watch what we were doing, and the music stand and everything. And so we were kind of like in this tiny, no windows, like tiny enclosed space, and we would just work for 5 hours and get it all. And we only would have to dot up and put on the helmet. We didn't need the whole suit for it. So sometimes it got a little long, like your head would start to hurt after a certain amount of time, and we'd take off the helmet and take a break and have a juice box. But they were really fun days.
Did they not give you like a juice box flag? That would have been helpful.
I wish. That would have been smart. Or like a granola bar flag. I could have had all sorts of flags.
So we have two more segments, and I want to move on from this. But I'm going to take over because we were talking about Rachel Amber, and there's not many opportunities I get to do that. But with her, before we move into two more subjects, I want to talk to you about Rachel Amber because now you've become familiar with the character. And I've had the opportunity to speak to Kylie about Rachel Amber, same with Danielle. You know, Rachel's just the enigma of Life is Strange. Very complex character, bit manipulative, sometimes maybe toxic compared to some people. What was your overall perception of Rachel Amber? Do you relate to her on a certain level? Is she very similar to you growing up? Are you completely different people? Give us the overall take that you had from having the opportunity to do all her facial capture, because you did so many lines. It brought a wonderful performance out in the Remastered Collection with giving Kylie's kind of performance even more of an edge to it. But what was the overall thoughts of Rachel Amber? Were you kind of divided by the end of like who she really is in personality wise? And sorry for all the questions.
I want to answer them well. I was immediately drawn to her character just because I felt like, and I didn't know her that well at this point because I hadn't done any of the gameplay. Just watching a few clips and seeing her, I think I was drawn to her because I knew somewhere that she was the one I could most easily play. That I could most easily do all of the facial capture for. And I don't know why that is exactly. I think I just saw who she was and saw some of her movement and saw the way she was speaking and talking and thought, oh yeah, I could easily slip into that. That's right in my wheelhouse. That's so right off the bat, I liked her and I wanted to book Rachel Amber, and I was so excited when I did. And then after getting to know her more, I could relate to her on a level of she's very into theater, which I loved, and I love the whole Tempest bits, and they're just like hilarious because I love how they just leaned into the fact that these are high school kids and they're not exactly like, you know, the most prestigious Shakespearean actors that you're going to see. They like totally leaned into the fact that they were like, yeah, we're in high school and we're putting on the Tempest and we're going to make stuff up and it's going to be great. But I love how into theater she is and in her theater class, and that we get to see her in like the costume room. And on that fact, I could really relate. So many other levels I could not personally, because she's just been through so much. Yeah. And I just see her as a person who is on the outside, she's just all confidence, and she is like the person everyone wants to be and the person everyone wants to be around. And just, she has this light about her, which is why Chloe is so drawn to her. And I love the relationship that they form throughout the game. But at the same time, she's exuding all of this from the outside, but inside she's a young woman who has been through a lot. She's really hurting. She's got a lot of mysteries in her life that are just kind of open-ended and unsolved. And she's a truly tragic character. And I find her just fascinating. And the track that they took with her to get her into where she needed to be for the original, because this all came before the storm, if you will. I just really like what Deck 9 did to kind of get her there and to give her the posters that you see in Liz of like the missing person, and like her face is all over it, and she's just this person that you look at and you wonder about her. And they really gave you that sense of wonderment in Before the Storm. I think they did a great job with that. And then of course, like the tragedy with her mom and her parents lying to her, and the fact that she needs Chloe to really be that person in her life that she can share this with and go through this with. And Chloe's at a point where she doesn't have Max, and she's looking for that as well. Yeah. I just think she's a beautiful character. Yeah.
She really is. That was a 9 out of 10 answer. Then it was 10 out of 10 when you put the Before the Storm pun in there. And I feel it's very fitting. And we could talk about Rachel Amber forever, but people will start yelling, people submit questions, so we need to get to those. But before we do, and obviously we're on time constraint as well, so we can't keep you forever, but I kind of want to talk about life in the theatre world Anastasia, because like you mentioned it there, The Tempest. It's a big part of your life, theatre. It really is. You've just done Colorado Shakespeare Festival. You know, when we were speaking to Erika, and we're like, you know, where are the cookies? She's like, you know, she's doing Colorado Shakespeare Festival. It's consumed her life. You don't see people when you're doing it. But, and obviously when we were trying to arrange this, you know, you were busy doing it. We were like, okay, let's get it done afterwards. How prestigious, because obviously I have no idea about it, but like how prestigious is it to do something like that? And then like as much time as you committed to kind of finally got to the end of the hurdle and then cap that experience off.
It's a fantastic theater here in Colorado. There's different Shakespeare festivals and theaters all over the states, and this is one of the big ones. And we've been around this is the 65th season. So Colorado Shakes has been around for a very long time, and it is a historic theater in terms of they have 2 different casts that they have during the summer. So there's 4 shows total, and the indoor cast will be doing 2 shows in repertory. So they'll switch back and forth doing them. And then there's an outdoor cast, which will also be doing 2 shows in repertory. Wow. And the outdoor cast, which I was a part of this summer, and it was just such an amazing experience and a wonderful company. We get to perform on the Mary Rippon stage, which is this gorgeous outdoor amphitheater in the middle of Boulder. It's in the middle of CU Boulder's campus. It seats around 1,000 people. And it's been around for years, decades. And it's the space is just, you can just feel theater magic when you're in there. It sounds crazy, but I just felt so fortunate. This is my 3rd season working with Colorado Shakes. And I felt so fortunate every time I was standing on the outdoor stage, looking out at the empty amphitheater. And just the fact that I got to perform out there this summer for hundreds and hundreds of people. It's just an amazing experience. And I'm so grateful for it.
Damn.
You know, on that theatre world, because like, you know, when I spoke to Danielle in that Life After Strange episode, I always said to her, like, you know, I was like, Rachel Amber, your hardest role? And she's like, no. She's like, I played some, you know, really incredible roles in like theatre. I think, like she said, like, you know, we explored the subjects of like rape and abortion and stuff like that. And it kind of it opened my mind up to theatre, because I was so narrow-minded to think that maybe Rachel Amber is a complex character, like most complicated performance for her, because it's just a video game, but she's done live theatre. And with live theatre, obviously, like you've done that Colorado Shakespeare Festival, you got all this kind of stuff. You have to learn cadence for Shakespeare. You know it familiar anyway. You've got a huge background, but it's a one-take experience. You know, you can't just say like, oh shit, I fucked this up. Web, roll the camera again. You have to be in the moment. If you mess something up, we're in real time. Like, and I know you'll be sometimes you might be nervous for a role or not. How nervous is it initially taking to that stage? Because obviously, like I said, one misstep, it can be like, what do I do now? We have to kind of like fix this. But what's it like acting in theatre like that, and the kind of the kind of subjects you'll cross in your experience as well?
It can be terrifying. I always say, when I'm not nervous is when I'll start getting really concerned, because I think that there needs to be a certain level of nerves before, like, you've got to be crazy to walk on stage in front of 700 plus people and be like, well, let's just hope everyone does everything they're supposed to. And if we don't, we're live. So we just have to keep going. Like, I think it's just insane if you're not a little bit nervous. So I do always have some nerves before shows, and sometimes it's, for some roles it's less than others, and for some nights it's less than others. But this summer I was doing the 2 shows that I did were The Two Gentlemen of Verona by Shakespeare, and then we did a non-Shakespeare outside, which was a play called The Book of Will, and it's a more contemporary play written by a playwright named Lauren Gunderson. She's fantastic. And the whole play, it was like historical fiction. It was about the making of Shakespeare's first collected works. And so it took place in 1619. And it was all about the group of men who put together Shakespeare's works to have them remembered over time, and why we still have them and why we can still perform them. Someone had the forethought to say, oh, maybe we should print this and get it down and sell it so that other people, so that the work can carry on. And it's a beautiful play, but we're performing outside. So, and it is not covered, and we're in Colorado. And so we get storms, we get a lot of wind, and we're doing a play about making a book. And so there's a lot of things that can go wrong. There's a lot of paper. There's a lot of like, it would be raining and we'd have props all over the stage. And we made sure that the paper, like we had such a great tech team that props made sure that the paper was super sturdy so that it wouldn't just crumble to little bits. And then we also had to make sure that it wasn't going to blow away. So we had weights set all over the stage, like little mugs that we could put on the paper so that they wouldn't blow away. But there's elements like that are just completely out of your control. And you're standing backstage getting ready to go on. And you're just like, well, here's hoping. And that's not even like lines or blocking or any of the things. It's just you hope that you go out and all the things happen, and then sometimes they don't, and that's when things get really exciting. And I actually love it at a certain point, because you can't control it and you just have to keep going, and it's kind of thrilling in a way. But
as a former stage manager, I can get behind that. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, that's so cool, Adam. When were you a stage manager before your chef days?
I was in high school. That's actually how I met my wife. So, who was also an actress. So, I was a stage manager all through high school and was the head guy. Mostly I was 17, 18, and I was leading the whole cast because the adult that was in charge, which was the workshop teacher, every single show came in plastered drunk. And as a 17-year-old, I'd be like, okay, well, I guess I'm running the show now. Here we go. Just sit over there, sit in the corner. You do you. I'm going to run things. But it's the insanity is what makes the show great. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's crazy. What an experience.
I know.
Good for you.
I guess.
If one of my teachers showed up drunk, I don't know.
Yeah.
When I was younger, and not high school as much, but when I was a kid, drunk people scared me. So if there were like drunk people in movies, which you'd be shocked how many times, like Pete's Dragon, you think it's a children's movie, and yet there's like drunk characters all the time.
Yeah, like
or like Dumbo, or I don't know, one of those. Pinocchio.
I don't know if it was like a mental problem that he had to drink. It could have been like a serious issue. So I'm not like knocking the guy. He could have been going through some struggles, but when you're 17 and the only other adult is just like not present basically, and I'm just like, okay, here we go, and please don't damage anything while you're here, please. Like nerve-wracking.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. And I will say too that like we would have been so lost without our amazing stage management team this summer, because with COVID, we were testing 3 times a week. We were doing everything we could. And thankfully we were outside when we were performing, but for rehearsals, we were masked and indoors. And we had multiple instances where understudies had to go on, and it is like, it's a lot. It's a big hurdle to prep for that, and to have put in rehearsals where you all need to gather again and put in the understudy and make sure that they know their track. And if it weren't for stage management, we would have been a complete mess. So thank you, stage managers.
The Men in Black.
Yes.
Men in Black.
Yes. I love that. Men and women in black.
Men and women in black. People in black.
People in black.
So, before we move into these fan questions, one more thing. Obviously, you mentioned it before. Erika Mori and Anastasia Davidson linked up for theatre. How was that experience?
It was so great. Did Erika talk about this with you at all?
I think she mentioned it in the last show, maybe.
No, she didn't.
She better be talking about it all the time. It was so great. So this past February and March, we did a 2-hander. It was a 2-person play. at the Butterfly Effect Theater of Colorado down in Boulder.
Nice.
And the two of us, we actually got to workshop it first with the playwright when it's a new play and it was in its not beginning stages, but it just hadn't been produced anywhere yet. And so we had the opportunity to work with the playwright, work on our characters, and then bring it to full production, which is rare. Usually if you're going to workshop a play, it will be like so far down the road that they'll recast it with different actors by the time they're putting it up. But this happened so quickly that we got to stick with it through the whole process. And the play was called 14 Funerals. And in it, I played a Midwestern small town gal named Millie, who works at her dad's funeral home. And Erika played, of course, this like amazing, cool, hip city gal that comes in because she's learned that all of her family, extended family, has perished in a tragic fireworks accident.
Oh my God.
And it's a dark comedy.
Yeah.
And she comes in and she learns that all these people have died and she has to come to this funeral home, and it's really funny. It's super quick. The dialogue was like super fast back and forth. And it was I think we ran it about 90 minutes. So it was an hour and a half, no intermission. And it was just the two of us. And we just got out there and just worked for an hour and a half and made each other laugh and rapped and danced. And then we were done for the night. And it was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cool. So for time purposes, I was going to throw I might come back to it, but for time purposes, when we go into the fan questions, got a couple. So I'm going to kick things off with Adam from YouTube. Not this Adam.
Not me.
This isn't. So Adam said, I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to say you are awesome. So we need to put that out there for Stace.
Oh, thanks, Adam.
And we're going to combine these two next ones. These are both from Twitter. This is from Anthony and Blobby. So Anthony asked, I'm curious how much, of course, Blobby, Erika rated Blobby's name last time. Blobby really enjoyed it as well. But so Blobby and Anthony have got questions here from Twitter. So Anthony said, I'm curious how much sympathy Stace had for Diana, as the game definitely portrays her as an antagonist, but I never found her to be evil so much as a real person working for a soulless corporation. Would you say that Diana is a villain? And echoing those sentiments is from Blobby, which is, I felt like Diana was one of the more complicated antagonists of True Colors as I finished the game, not quite knowing how I feel about her role in the Typhon cover-up. Does Anastasia consider Diane to be a villain on a level similar to Jed or a casualty of circumstance?
That's so great. That makes me feel really good that playing it, she doesn't come across as a supervillain and is more complex and human about that, more human. So thank you for both of those questions. I definitely approached the character of Diane as I believe that when you're playing a character, you have to believe you're the hero. You're the hero of your own story. Because as humans, we'll put ourselves there. We will make excuse after excuse as to why we did what we did.
Yes.
And why we're not the bad guy. And so we will do this over and over again. And so when I approach a character, I always try to find the hero in them for them.
Yes.
And so I never looked at her necessarily as a villain or even necessarily as a bad person, but more as a human who has gone through certain life experiences and doing the best she can and making absolutely horrible decisions along the way. From Stace's point of view, from my point of view, she's made terrible decisions.
Sure.
Putting myself in Diane's shoes, yes, by the end she knows they're bad decisions, but she can justify them because of all of the things that she's been through, because of how hard she's worked, because she dropped her whole life in DC and left her family and her niece and nephew and came to a new town in Haven Springs, because she's done everything for the sake of Typhon, because, you know, you could just keep listing it off. Because of all those things, that is why she made these decisions. And for her, for most of it, I think that it's justified. By the end, you realize, oh my gosh, people have been killed. People are like, this isn't right. And then she has to come to terms with that. But yeah, I definitely have a lot of empathy for her, as does, I mean, Alex teaches us all that, you know, like that's such a good quality to have in a human. And I think that having Alex Chen be this empathetic hero of a PC, like it's just really great. And I'm glad that folks are playing it and not necessarily seeing her as a Jed type villain, which I can look at Jed more objectively and be like, yeah, he's a super villain. Not the one I played. No. Which of course we can do that for Jed too. He made decisions the way he thought he had to make them for the sake of his son, for the sake of his family, you know, but yeah.
Yeah, morality is a bitch. And we'll move into the next question, which is a very interesting one here. It's from Laura Lanford on Twitter. Please tell us, Anastasia, how different it was to play Diane, where it was a role coming 100% from yourself, and working with Life is Strange Remastered, where you had to match your acting towards pre-recorded audio coming from someone else. Comparing them, which was the most challenging? Bum, bum, bum.
I love that question. The most challenging. So they're very different.
Mm-hmm.
Shockingly different. I would think that they would have lived in a more similar realm.
Yeah.
But because Diane, it was more like I was just playing any character that I would play in a film or in a play, because I got to do everything. I got to do the movement. I got to do, it was my whole face. It was my voice. So that was fun because there was a freedom in it. That I didn't have with the remaster. But the cool thing about the remaster was that I didn't have any freedom. It was almost kind of nice to walk in and be like, I don't have to worry about doing any of my own stuff, really. I just have to match this person. And there was something methodical and really great about it, that I just got to let everything else go and count on the amazing performances of the folks that came before me. I think if I had to pick the job that was most challenging, it would be the remaster work.
Really?
And all of the facial capture, just because it took so much prep.
Yeah.
Watching those clips over and over again and memorizing those lines, but memorizing them the way someone else has said them, not the way I would say them. It gets difficult versus Diane getting those pages and thinking like, oh, how am I going to approach this? And how will I say that? It's a lot easier to memorize those lines and then come in and have the physicality that I've brought to that character and just know like, oh, I can slip into Diane Jacobs right now. And that's all I have to do versus I'm going to try to be matching someone else.
Yeah.
Last question. And I'll leave this down to you for interpretation. Rebecca Ella Louise Swift on Facebook said, I have one question for Anastasia. How could you?
I mean, how could I have had a relationship with Steph and Ryan and still come out on top by the end of the game? I don't know. No.
Oh.
How could I? That's a great question, Rebecca. I don't know how to respond to that, but I like it.
I was a big fan.
And I want your input. How could I?
Well, I have a follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
Why could you? So how could you? Why could you? That's my follow-up.
Why could I?
Yeah, why could you do that? How could you do that? Why could you do that? Please elaborate.
She's dumb.
She's had smooth sailing up to this point. Now we're getting...
I have. I think maybe we'll just harken back to the fact that I'm not as interested in method acting. And none of this is me. I didn't do anything. I have no control over how they decided to write the character of Diane. I will say she is a lot less of a villain than she was originally going to be.
Oh yeah?
I'll defend Diane and myself and say she could have been worse.
I think we can all
That's not even
every morning. I could be worse. It could be a lot worse.
Could I do better? Sure. But could I be worse? Yeah.
Just to geek out a little bit, and Stace, just whenever I watched Diane come into a room, whenever I watched that kind of performance, I am I'm not just saying this because you're a guest on the show. I just love the way you performed as Diane. You could tell that there's a slight tremble in the voice, but deep down, she's taking a breath. Listen, I have to say it's as professionally as possible. And every time she delivered a line, it was always just professionalism with a slight tremble. It was almost like a 10% tremble, and you nailed it to that point. Now it became like a 40 to 50% tremble whenever Steph was around. So it was you could tell there was a little bit of a tremble, but no,
the extra color in her cheeks.
The color, it's like that you could tell there's some difference in there. But no, I just every time I see that scene, wow, that is not just a two-dimensional character. There is some emotion behind it. So I just wanted to just geek out for a second, just say wow, it was a great performance. It was just a well-rounded human being trying to be professional, if that makes sense.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And that means a lot. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I credit Webb for a lot of that, our performance director, because I think that sometimes myself as an actor, I want to bring everything all the time, all the feels. And I think one of the ways that Webb helped me with Diane is that she can't be bringing all of that all the time. She is a professional. And so I love what you said about coming at it with I'm a professional, I'm going to say this, but there's that little hint of unease there. And he did help me discover that, because I think if it were Stace, if it were me, I would have 70% of that emotion and unease. Whereas I think what the character calls for is that she is primarily she is so work focused and oriented that it is going to be the 80 to 90%. I am a professional at all costs. Yes. But there is that little tremor of emotion and guilt and all the other things that are bubbling up within her. Yeah. They're just there.
And it's crazy.
Yes.
To watch that performance. Yeah.
Yeah. And Webb, I think I did do a couple takes where it was more tipped toward, gosh, Diane, please.
Yeah.
You are guilty, girl.
Yeah.
And Webb was there to be she is ever the professional. Just keep it masked to as much as you possibly can until you can't. And that was really helpful.
Yeah. Now I have one.
Thank you. That's really kind.
You're welcome. Honestly, I just wanted to share that. But I have one follow-up question. So in the bar, right? Who was the right person to distract Diane? Was it Steph or was it Ryan? What's the canon way to distract Diane?
You want my opinion?
I just want to know from Diane, who would have distracted you more in the bar? Would have been Steph or would have been Ryan?
So I could go with very diplomatic answers here and say that take it
Spoken
off of
spoken like Diane, truly.
Just take a breath. Just take a breath. Say, the way I would professionally.
Well, Adam.
Yes.
Thank you for asking that question, Adam. And I think what we really need to think about here is how the character is written. Ooh. And in the lines, I think that the way the script was written, it skews more towards Steph.
I agree.
Personally.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that because the lines were in there, and I had a fantastic time working with both Eric and Katie. I got to know Katie a little bit more, just because we kept in touch more after the shoot that we had wrapped. So when I played it through, I definitely played it both ways. So I wanted to see both paths. But I think that in the lines, there's a little bit more meat given for the Diane and Steph interaction. And so I had as an actor, I had a little bit more fun with that. And I think that comes through when you're playing it.
No,
personally.
There's definitely more, like I said, there's more tremble when Steph's around. Ryan is just like, oh, this goofy dude, you know, he's cute. But like when Steph's around, there's a little bit more tremble in the voice. I heard it. Yeah. That definitely did happen. And I also think it's the characters of Ryan and Steph and the way they're written as well makes a difference, because Ryan comes up and he's so freaking nervous. Yes.
Like you can clearly tell that he doesn't really want to ask her out. And like, he's so like, he doesn't know what he's doing and he's like really unclear. And then Steph comes up and she's like, yeah, like what's going on? And she's got like her, like, she's got all this like physicality and she's like exuding this confidence and sexiness, and it's like, well, are you just down to make out? Like, what do you want to do with me? And so like I'm sitting at the booth like that we have set up in all of our Apple crates, and I'm like, oh, and like those dots don't lie, they pick up everything.
Oh. Here, yeah, okay, got it, heard.
That would
there
be
you go.
That would be the perfect way to end this. But I'm going to ask you one more thing. So we know we have to let you go, but there's one more thing. We mentioned it before. Cosplay time. We saw Anastasia as Rachel Amber. We saw Erika Mori as Alex Chen. We saw Hemi as Chloe. I just wanted to ask you, what was it like? Who pitched that? Whose idea? Because we heard Erika's account from that. And then I think this was in between when Erika told me how old she was, and I was literally blown away. And then she also told me how old you were, and I was also blown away as well. But she was like, the camera loves stays, but then when we were trying to do me for Alex Chen, the angles were just like all over the place, according to her. But I wanted to know, what was your fateful account of that day?
Oh gosh, it was a great day. I don't know. So I had wanted to do some cosplay for a while, and my husband bought me Rachel's feather earring. It was a gift after we had finished shooting. And he also got me her bracelet. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I have these things. They're so beautiful. And like, I want to wear them, but I also want to like wear them as Rachel Amber. So in my mind, I was like, I have to do a cosplay at some point. And Eric, my husband, is a huge gamer. So he was like, yeah, you have to, like, that'd just be great. And then when Erika and I were working on our play, 14 Funerals, she mentioned that she had the thought of doing some cosplay stuff. And she was like, yeah, I got the jacket, I got some glasses, I have a wig. And I was like, wait, I have a feather earring. Oh. This could actually be kismet. And so we decided after we closed the show, we would have a fun day together and we would just bring our costumes and just see where the day would take us. And so I went over to her house and met Hemi for the first time. And she served me, what did she give me? Rosé. I think we had rosé all day.
That sounds about right for this story.
So we were enjoying a lot of rosé. We set up a little mirror station in her dining area and got out all of our makeup and all of our stuff. And we basically just played dress up all afternoon until we were like, wait a second, we have to take pictures and actually document what we've done. And yeah, so then we went down into her basement where we each have our self-tape studios in our houses, because that's what we do now as actors. We got to have our whole self-tape setup. And so we got Hemi in his little Chloe tank top, and we put a bandana on him for the little bit of Chloe hair, and just kind of had the most amazing day. I don't know whose idea it was to begin with, though. It was kind of like we came to it together. But, well, actually, I was going to say I take credit for making it happen.
It sounds like
I
very
was
much
going
what
to take
Erika
credit
said.
for making it happen, but that's not true. Erika makes everything happen. Like if she wants something to happen, she'll take out her phone and be like, "Okay, so when are we doing this? And what time? And when will you be here?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, we're setting it." She's like, "Yeah." So she probably, if she wasn't so on the ball, well, no, it would have happened no matter what. But yeah, I'll give her credit.
Yeah, fair enough. It's very interesting that those accounts, because Erika's didn't include the rosé, so I imagine there's obviously someone remembers something that the other person doesn't. So,
She
but
thinks it was rosé. We're not positive it was rosé because I'm just hearing like a murder mystery documentary. Like, I'm not sure what she gave me, and then we went down to her basement. You know, we feel a little dressed up. You know, who knows?
Yeah, the photos taken in a basement. I don't know. We're getting way too close to Life is Strange here. This isn't.
It's like well, where's this going? Where's this going?
She
Plot
also
thickens.
served me peanut butter pretzels from Trader Joe's because she knows I love peanut butter.
Yes.
So she bought a bag special just for my visit. Which
Anything
was really
from Trader
sweet.
Joe's is just fantastic for sure.
You can't go wrong.
Oh,
It's
even just the peanut butter.
great.
Like Trader Joe's peanut butter is the supreme. It is.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I agree. Have you ever had their peanut puffs?
No. Wait, what?
Okay, most people
I don't
haven't
have any
because
Trader
I
Joe's
think
out here
people
now.
think.
There's
Oh,
no Trader Joe's in North Dakota.
I should send you some.
Yes.
Adam, send me your address. I'll send you some. Seriously.
I don't know. You might send me some other drinks. There might be a basement involved. It's like, Adam, it's fine. Just take the peanut butter puffs. You're fine.
I'll send them to you and you'll be like, what is this? Is this baby food? Because that's what I thought it was at first. My nephews, who are 1 and 3,
Yes.
love them. And I thought that it was for babies.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, it's their special baby food. Because I think a lot of times, like, you can test out peanut allergies on young kids with, like, these little, like, peanut puff type things. So I thought that it was primarily for toddlers, and they were coming to visit. And I was like, oh, let me make sure that I have their special peanut puffs from Trader Joe's. Like, I've got to pull out all the stops for my little nephews. And I bought them, and I was like, well, let me just see what the deal is. Let me try one. I ate the whole bag, and now I'm obsessed with them. And I had to go back and buy more because I ate all the ones that I bought for my nephews before they even arrived. And now I can't live without them.
My God.
So,
I'm going to have to open
anyway,
up a Trader
I
Joe's
will
out
say-
here, aren't I?
They shut you. Yeah. Open franchise, like
Yeah.
get it open. But
I'll
Erika
have to get
thought
it
that she was getting the peanut puffs for me, but she actually got peanut butter pretzels. And that's okay because I love those too.
Yes.
But she'll
That
tell
sounds
you
like a win.
my favorite are the puffs.
That sounds like a win-win day, and I think we'll wrap this up here because it's been we're going to run into your time at this point. But thank you again, Stace, for coming on. It's great to have you here. And yeah, I'm sure we'll cross paths again at some point, no doubt. But yeah, we'll jump to our outro segment, which me and Adam will record to finish off the show. But again, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Adnan, Adam. It was an absolute pleasure, and anytime. I just love chatting with you, and thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming
Thank
on.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Anastasia. Like as I said, it was so much fun having her on here. Maybe we'll try and get her and Erika Mori on together at some point. It's caused a bit of chaos as well. You never know. So down the line, we'll see what opportunities we have to get them two together. But I hope you enjoyed that nonetheless. And obviously, like, you know, as I said, so much stuff to talk about, especially the Life is Strange Remastered Collection. I didn't think we'd get as much as we did, like, you know, in terms of like so much really interesting insight for her work on that. So we're going to spread the arts out of this segment. We did it the same with the Erika Mori interview. We kind of, because this is an in-between episode of our StrangeCast schedules, we usually spread the arts out in between. But we will give her a shout out here for Adam's album, which you should check out, featuring none other than Kylie Brown, the voice of Rachel Amber.
Rachel
You know
Amber
her
herself.
very well. Yes, and a big shout out. And a big shout out to Adam's 4th track, Eden, which you should listen to, because if you want to know how boss Kylie Brown is as an actor, that is it. And obviously as Adam for a musician, you know, and, you know, I give him credit, but like, you know, Kylie steals the show as per. So you should definitely check the album out. That album is available on everything. Finally got on Spotify after a long process of that. It's available on Apple Podcasts. It is available on Bandcamp. It's available on everything. So do go and check that out. You'll enjoy it.
The Essence of Life. Check it out.
the essence of life. So, and with that, we will finish this podcast episode out. I hope you all enjoyed. If you are new here again, please do leave a subscribe, like, share, turn on notifications. It helps you keep up to date with our channel. We get about 50% split of people who are not subscribed to the channel and people who are. So do stay tuned. It'll help you keep up to date with our content, the StrangeCast podcast, the Life After Strange ones. Life After Strange is in the works. Yep. I don't know if it'll come out this month, but maybe it will be back at some point. We're just scheduling and doing all these other little jazz bits, but it will come back at some point, I promise. And as well, StrangeCast is available on podcast services. So if you want to get an RSS feed, you should download it through there and you can check out all the latest episodes. But like, as I said, if you are interested in us doing an Expanse React videos, let us know. We might do it straight after the gameplay footage, depending on schedules and stuff. Might even do a live stream. Who knows? Or we might just leave it for the StrangeCast episode afterwards. It's all down to you guys if you're interested. But in the meantime, take care. We will see you next week with another We'll see you next week with another StrangeCast episode. As we said, that will be our regular spot. So until then, take care, guys. See you later.
Peace.